Hello everybody and welcome back to Punting Pioneer. Corbin Hosler, and this is a 2-episode week. I wanted to make up a little bit, as much as I could anyways. The couple of weeks I was MIA due to dealing with a crazy ice storm here in Oklahoma. So, 2 episodes this week. If you didn't see Mining Modern on Tuesday, definitely go check that out. But here we are with Pioneer, and we are going to do some beatdown Temur style. I'll tell you, I love this card. Ever since I first saw it previewed, Savage Knuckleblade, Temur colors, that's blue, red, green, and look, it does it all. It's a 4/4 for 3. And these days, you know, that's maybe not as above the curve as it used to be, but look at these abilities on this thing. Green ability, 3 mana, you can pump it, you can bounce it, you can give it haste. So 4 mana, 4/4 haste. This card does a lot of things, and it's a really fun reason to be Temur. Now, we also get to play fun stuff like this. Temur Charm, you can fight, you can counter stuff, you can falter stuff, make them not block. It's a fun card, we have to have it, right? So, other than that, right, it's kind of a straightforward red-green beatdown deck. You've seen these type of decks, but rather than play Questing Beasts and stuff like that, instead we are all in on going 1 to 3. You see Elvish Mystics, Llanowar Elves. That, with 8 mana dorks, that means we want to cast a 3-drop on turn 2. And we've got plenty. We've got Bonecrusher Giant, we've got Goblin Rabblемasters, we've got Lovestruck Beast. That, of course, gives you a turn 1 play as well. Rhonas the Indomitable. This is a pretty powerful one itself, giving your creatures trample. Steel Leaf Champion, because this is a deck where we can play triple green and green, red, blue, no problem. And if things go right, we can do it on turn 2. So pretty nuts draws possible with this. And of course, tie it all together with the good old Collected Company. Embercleave, because this card is always good, and you are able to play it in this deck. And you know what? This is what I loved in the list I found. It's a Crater's Claws, sort of the throwback cons mechanic here with Ferocious, dealing X+2. It's a Fireball. It's a fun one. Onto the sideboard, and you'll notice in the main deck as well, we have these Stubborn Denials, and that's a big deal. That's truly a big deal because this card is very good against a lot of decks, and it's pretty easy to turn on Ferocious thanks to our Lovestruck Beast and our Steel Leaf Champions and our Savage Knuckleblades and so on. So we get some more in the sideboard here. Another Charm. Scavenging Ooze, that's our graveyard hate. We've got Back to Nature for enchantments, Lava Coil for creatures, Cindervines for artifacts and enchantments. Honestly, a fairly straightforward sideboard, which is great. You know what you want in most matchups. And I do like this one, Hornet Nest. If you think your opponent's going to be doing a bunch of damage to the board, an Anger of the Gods type sweeper, Hornet Nest looks pretty good. Makes a bunch of tokens whenever it takes damage. So everybody, that's the deck. It is Temur Beatdown here on Punting Pioneer. I'm Corbin Hosler. Thank you so much for watching. All right, everybody, here we go. Looks like we're on the draw. I'm going to keep this hand. Now, granted, this hand is not crazy good. I mean, 4 lands is maybe not where we want to be, but we've got a Mana Dork, we've got a turn 2 Steel Leaf Champion, we've got a turn 3 Collected Company. It's a pretty powerful hand. Now, if our opponent were to kill our Elvish Mystic, things start to look a lot worse, but we'll see what's up here. Force themselves. So, okay. Nothing too scary quite yet. And I guess I'll lead off with our Sanctum. This, of course, allows us, because if we draw now a different 3-drop, let's say a Savage Knuckleblade and wanted to play it, we could get blue from the Sanctum, green from the Mystic, and red from the next land we play. Or we can go triple green for the Steel Leaf Champion. Really all the options as our opponent is ramping over there. This is kind of a cool card, actually, because it's essentially a rampant growth, right? Except you may also get something out of it later. And if you're playing an enchantment-type deck, Green-White Enchantress, for instance, which is kind of a fringe deck, I think, in the format. That could be what we're up against. In the meantime, though, let's slam the 5/4 and just get rolling here. I mean, this is an example of what our deck can do. Our opponent's going to have quite a bit to get back in this, because I'm just going to swing for 5 and then play a company after that. Yep, and there you go. See, checks out. Calyx, Destiny's Hand. So our opponent can minus. They can get rid of our Steel Leaf Champion. Yep, put it underneath the Wolf Willow Haven. So I can poke down the Calyx. Question is, what else I do? How do I want to do this? I want the red side, right? Okay. So here's the thing. This is actually kind of awkward, because I need to poke down the Calyx so that our opponent can't start getting value out of it. But that means I can't cast a company, so we're going to settle for I think actually just hard casting the Lovestruck Beast, not even going for the Heart's Desire, because we have the 1/1 in the Elvish Mystic, and I would like to be able to attack my opponent, I have to say. Alright, so I guess if our opponent ever chooses to make a wolf out of this, we're going to get our Steel Leaf Champion back, so probably won't see that happening. That said, they don't have any card advantage, and so, okay. I don't know what that means, but it can't be good. I'll say that. Well, let's attack. Maybe there's a reason to company their main phase. Not sure. I'd have to think it through. But let's see what our opponent has. Are we just dead to whatever they combo with Solemnity here? Okay, maybe not. What does this do? Players can't get counters, and counters can't be put on artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or lands. Sure. Okay, well, our opponent has Solemnity, and now they're plus in Calyx. This might work out okay for us. In fact, there's the Eidolon of Blossoms. The thing is, if we hit well on this company, we could actually present lethal. Especially since a Mana Bloom isn't going to do anything for him yet. This is a neat deck, though. I'll say that. Although, for what it's worth, you can't even put counters on this? Iffy. Alright, well, let's see what's up here. Well, company, the options are a Rabblemaster and a Scooze. Fair enough. Let's see what that looks like. We can't actually grow the Scavenging Ooze at all. Okay, well, I bet I have lethal with that. It was going to be maybe some math involved, but, you know, honestly, maybe we would have just always had it. But we certainly have it with the Embercleave. We will put this thing on a Lovestruck Beast and deal him 1 billion onto game 2. Just like that. Remember, we have those Return to Natures in our sideboard? There's a reason for it, by the way. Or Back to Natures, and it's for this. It's for this matchup right now. I also would like these Cindervines. I'd like these Stubborn Denials. This feels like it's probably a pretty decent matchup for us, frankly. Just looking at what's going on here. And this goes right to their face. I kind of want to keep that. What don't we need? The Bonecrushers are probably... just because I have to cut something, right? And the Bonecrushers are probably on the lower end because they're only 4/3s for 3. We don't really need to be hitting their creatures. I say that, though. They had Eidolon of Blossoms. It probably changes that a little bit. I don't think we need Klothys. This is kind of hard. We have too many good cards here. What does Rhonas the Indomitable do? It's just a big creature. It's a big creature. What to cut? Sure. I don't know. Let's try something like this. Don't really know what they're up to. I do know that we have a lot of cards that at least seem like they'll be good against our opponent's deck. And I have to say that Enchantress deck looks pretty neat. But we've got Cindervines, Stubborn Denials, Back to Natures. We got everything. Meanwhile, I think our deck's actually pretty hard to sideboard against because it sort of fits into this niche that these Gruul decks in both Standard and Pioneer and I guess Historic as well kind of fit into, where they're aggro decks, sure, but they're big. They're not a play a Cry of the Carnarium and wipe the field type aggro decks. They are 4/4s, 5/5s, getting powered out. It's just the power of Llanowar Elves, frankly, and I'm going to keep this hand as questionable as it may be because we have 2 Mana Dorks, and we have a Back to Nature, right? Those cards seem generically good against our opponent. And honestly, if we hit land in the first 2 draws, and we get to play a Rabblemaster on turn 2, well, that's all the engine you need to attack, and then we just get to play defense against anything else our opponent might do. So this hand, despite being a 1-lander, actually pretty powerful, I think. And obviously, if we do something exactly like that, things get even better, because now we get to play a Rabblemaster on turn 2. If we can find a blue source, we'll be able to hold up a Temur Charm for counterspells later. But at the very least, we're just going to play a Rabblemaster, and from there on, it's just going to be wait to Back to Nature. Although, I say that, and here comes our opponent with the Baffling End. I actually will be able to kill this later and get a 3/3 dinosaur. Okay, well, we're going to have to obviously go a little slower here, but I think that's okay. Our opponent had to spend a card on that. Nessian Wanderer. Okay, this deck's just cool. Because this is a good one. Whenever enchantment enters play, you get to get a land from your top 3. This is an all-star in Theros Beyond Draft, I have to say. And looks pretty good here as well. So, okay, well, let's run out this Rabblemaster. And I suppose we're not really getting anywhere with these tokens yet. They just are going to have to Suicide in, but it's a start. We can actually use the Temur Charm to pump and fight the Nessian Wanderer if we want to next turn, which would allow a really big Rabblemaster hit, I think, right? It would be a 3 and then a 4. So we'd be swinging in for 4, 5, 6, I think. If we find blue mana, that is. Otherwise, I guess we're, well, doesn't matter anyways. We're going to investigate here. Our opponent turned into a all removal deck over here. Fair enough. Okay, what do we want to do? I guess we play this, even though it can't do much yet. And pass the turn. I mean, the thing is, our opponent, they're building their mana base. They're playing this game, too. But we're just going to keep throwing threats out there, and then they're going to have to find answers to those threats. And the Back to Nature is hopefully the trump card in this, and that if we do fall behind to, them setting up engines like this, well, we get to kill them all at some point at instant speed and get a 3/3 out of the deal. So even if they were to board wipe, we still end up in an okay spot. And there's our blue mana. All right, can I actually make this thing attack? I have access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. It does mean I can attack with the Rhonas if I want to. I could sink all of this to turn one of these into a 5/3 or a 5/1. It would be tapped, though. That would allow me to swing in here with this thing. It's that or pop a clue and see what we do. I actually think I would rather, and this might be kind of weird on the surface, because what am I doing wasting my turn like this? But the thing is, next turn, I'm going to want to hold up the Temur Charm, and if we don't Temur Charm, I'm going to want to crack the clue. Oh, and I forgot about the, I'm so dumb. Oh, they don't call it Punting Pioneer for nothing, folks. I did all of this thinking, I wanted to hold my mana up next turn. I'll use the Temur Charm or crack the clue. It'll be so mana efficient. I'll get my damage in here. And I just didn't even pay attention to the fact they played a Sphere of Safety. Guess to me it was, they played an enchantment. I'm going to kill it with a Back to Nature. Honestly, we're not out much here because we weren't going to cast Back to Nature this turn on their turn no matter what. We weren't able to crack our clue here is basically what it comes down to. We wouldn't have had the blue mana for the charm regardless. So it's going to be no harm done, which is the kind of punts that I like. And there's another Rabblemaster. So, yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm in. Just continues to kind of put pressure out there, force our opponent to deal with stuff. Oh, and I can just choose not to pay? This is kind of sick, actually. So, they have to attack, if able. But I guess if I don't pay, then they're not able. So I can just stack up some goblins, and then later Back to Nature, or now Back to Nature, because my opponent has this thing out here. So I'm actually going to respond now, so that they cannot cast an enchantment spell and get a 4/4 out of the deal. And now we have a big attack set up. We even get to crack our clue here, so as long as our opponent doesn't just completely punish us with whatever their next play is, we've got a big, big swing coming up. And it does look to be no harm done on that punted turn earlier. Alright, well, let's go ahead and pump up this... well, this thing has trample. I guess I'll pump up this thing. So now everything can swing, and you know what? I think I'm going to swing with everything. Turn the whole team sideways. I mean, it's a big swing here. I mean, I hadn't done the math. 6, 7, 11, 13, 18. Wow, this was actually a lethal swing because of this. We could have pumped up to 20 here. Can I do anything with this? No, I don't think there's any way I could have got lethal here. So I'm just going to keep it up because there's no way the game isn't over, right? Our opponent is at 7 life. We have a counter spell here. Now, granted, I guess if they played a 4-mana Wrath, they could pay for our mana leak. So game maybe not over at all, but Rhonas is indestructible. So I can, this thing doesn't go away no matter what. All right, here we go. 9 lives. Here comes the combo, I assume. There's the Solemnity. Okay, well, let's look at it here. They're going for it. They got 1 card left. Hope it doesn't blow us out, but 9 lives, hexproof, and the sorcery deals damage to you. Prevent it. Put an incarnation counter when there's 9 counters on it. Exile it, and when it leaves, you lose the game. But with Solemnity out, you can't put any counters on that. Therefore, you just never take damage. That's a win for our opponent if that resolves. But Temur Charm coming in clutch right here. At least barring our opponent busting out a Veil of Summer or whatever. We'll counter the Solemnity. And I guess we wouldn't even... This isn't even lethal, though, because of this thing, right? So, game not over by any means, I suppose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, I'm actually going to have 8 sources. Unfortunate. If I could draw a haste creature here... Or even a burn spell? Well, that's neither. Okay, well, the game's not over. And to be fair, the game's not over even if they can't take damage or whatever with this 9 lives, even if they have another Solemnity. Because we can just draw Back to Nature and get it anyways, right? So, and granted, there's only 1 Back to Nature left in our deck, but there's also Cindervines and all of that, and just killing the 9 lives makes them lose, right? As soon as it leaves the battlefield. So there's the Cleansing Nova. So we're actually in that position. Now, fortunately for us, they're going to have a Nessian Wanderer to block here. They have no cards in hand, but we held back on the Llanowar Elves, and that means we can play the Llanowar Elves, pump it twice, and attack with Rhonas, forcing a chump block. So all in all, they had the Wrath, and it still worked out okay, I think. Let's see what we hit, because remember, this leaves the battlefield, we win. So just hitting Cindervines or Back to Nature, or Return to Nature, whatever it's called, that's 3 cards in our deck that just win the game. And then, until then, though, let's go ahead and at least give our Rhonas the ability to attack. My opponent might also take this here. Going up to 8. I mean, it's kind of... yeah, so they go up to 8. Now, the thing is, if a source would deal damage to you... Yeah. So all we need is 1 source. Now, we do have it with the... just by attacking with both of these. So, but we also have it with the Bonecrusher Giant. Sort of an instant speed way to win the game, so to speak, because it'll trigger the 9 lives. Alright, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, that's perfect. We'll see if our opponent has anything now. The game should be over regardless here. Even if they do have a removal spell. But it'd be kind of fun if we could do the Bonecrusher Giant trick, right? But I think this will do it. Swing in. You had a lot of... You had 20 life. Then you had 9 lives. And that is quite a few lives, I have to say. And our opponent's tapping mana here. That wow, they actually have the Settle the Wreckage. I have to give it to you, friend. That's a nice top deck. Unfortunately, the Stomp is a nice top deck for us. At least assuming I haven't done this wrong. Which I don't think I did. Oh no, I did. Wait, what? Oh no! Alright, I'll walk you through it in a minute. Whoa, we really don't call it Punting Pioneer for nothing. Look at this. Bonecrusher Giant Stomp. It's not just a shock, everybody. Damage can't be prevented this turn. It deals 2 damage to any target. 9 lives prevents the damage. but the damage couldn't be prevented. Now, look, we were always going to do that anyway, because now with the Settle the Wreckage, we need to actually cast the Bonecrusher Giant. But honestly, that's pretty funny, I have to say. It's, we unintentionally avoided the claws on the 9 lives when we didn't even want to. Which is an interesting interaction, I have to say. An actual shock would have been better than Bonecrusher Giant in that circumstance. You know, as it stands now, our opponent could draw the Solemnity or whatever. This game isn't over by a long shot after all that. Did we misplay anything there? I don't know if we did. We got Wrath and then we got, you know, settled. It happens. That's not great, though. Sigil of the Empty Throne for our opponent. That lets them go find a land. But if that other card in hand is an enchantment and they start making 4/4s, this thing might slip out of reach. We flooded out fairly hard, and there it is. It's a baffling end. So that's not very good for us. The fact that our opponent was able to come up with an exile effect, too, is for our Rhonas was pretty impressive. All right, let's see what happens, though. I just had an actual shock I'd be able to win here. Well, these are not the cards that win the game, that's for sure. We might be onto a game 3 here, I won't lie. Nice turnaround for my opponent. I got to say, winning with the 9 lives at 8 counters. When I thought I had a way to beat it. There's a second 9 lives. Which, honestly, still doesn't matter. Because we're still a Cindervines. Oh, no, these things have hexproof. Oh, no, a Cindervines doesn't do it. It's just returned to nature. Or back to nature. So we've got one card, I think, that can win it for us here. And we've got probably one, I guess, maybe 2 turns to find it. The next hit's for 9. Yep. Here we go. Mana Confluence is not it. We've drawn quite a few lands here. Wow, what a game. This Enchantress deck is pretty neat, I have to say. Alright, well, we'll drop down to 3. And we'll see if the top card of our deck is a game winner. If we can just slam the table with it, live the dream with flip the top deck, win the match. We're off to a game 3. The Rootbound Crag is not it. We drew a lot of lands there. Let's try again. Let's try again. I still feel good about the matchup. I do not feel good about how that went, per se. But I do feel alright about the matchup. I kind of want the Klothys now. Wow, the Bonecrusher Giants are even worse than I thought, right? I say that. They're still perfectly fine, but... Yeah, I could have used any of these cards, frankly. I could have used anything here. I'm actually going to keep one more Bonecrusher and cut a Rabblemaster. The Rabblemaster does not attack particularly well into a Nessian Wanderer. And the Bonecrusher Giant is a 4-power creature for the Ferocious. With 4 Stubborn Denials in the deck, that's pretty relevant, I think. That was an interesting one, for sure. That was an interesting game. And I don't think I can keep this. Sand doesn't do anything for a long time. Yeah, we're going to get punished for it. Well, everybody, I have to say, this felt way better for us in games 2 and 3 than it did in game 1. But we may have lost an unlucky one and now mulligan into oblivion here. Hopefully our opponent is going down with us. But we are on the way to 5. Alright, well that's a keep. I'm going to ship a Company and a Stomping Ground, I guess. It's going to be rough. Our opponent did keep 7. I think. Maybe not. Yeah, they are in fact on 7. That said, though, this hand at least has a plan. We can cast the Heart's Desire, we get our 1/1. If we hit a blue source in the first couple turns, we get to a Knuckleblade or the Lovestruck Beast. You know, it's not the best beatdown plan we've ever had, but it is the beatdown plan we were able to put together. And, I mean, Stubborn Denial is not a good draw. That said, that turn didn't matter if we weren't going to cast anything. It's this turn we really need to hit the land. Hit a blue source, we're right in the game. Hit any land, as a matter of fact, we're in the game, just by playing a Lovestruck Beast out. Oh, Llanowar Elves a turn late. Yeah, that's a big one. Look, I know we did hit our third mana there, but the difference between playing that Lovestruck Beast that turn and doing something with it and playing it the next turn is just, I think, just probably worlds different in this matchup. Now, it is true that we can 4 or 5 for 1 our opponent if we draw the right cards, but we are nowhere near doing that right now. And the worst part is, even though our opponent probably has removal for the Lovestruck Beast, I can't even just take the turn off and play the Mystic. I have to play the most aggressive thing I can. That said, I'm not throwing in the towel by any means. I mean, look, we hit a blue source. Now we have Stubborn Denial if we can find it. Our opponent does have Wrath, so I'm not going to play anything other than this. But this gives us the mana to cast a Collected Company. We do get a swing here. Yeah, would not be shocked if our opponent is going to have a board wipe over there. Maybe not. What is this? It is a Sphere of Safety. Okay. Well, I sure would have liked to Stubborn Denial that one. I won't lie. Would have helped quite a bit. Alright, well, better late than never, I suppose. That means we can Company plus have Stubborn Denial. Unfortunately, I guess, you know, maybe the thing I want to do more is actually swing with this and just pay 1 for it and then cast the Company. Try to get our damage in while we can. I mean, this puts our opponent, if they take it, down to 7, which is a fairly relevant number, right? That's pretty low. We start getting into range where we can at least think about drawing Crater's Claws as an out, that sort of thing. This has worked out as well as we could expect until I misclicked through that Sigil of the Empty Throne anyway. That said, I want to cast the Company. We'll see what happens. Because the thing is, look, they can't punish us right now. Okay, well, that's not what we were looking for. It's just not. That said, to pay 2, leaving me 2 mana after that. Well, I can actually deal 6 to my opponent here with the Temur Charm, I believe. That's what we're going to do. Okay, well, we'll put our opponent down to 1, and we'll see what they do now. I have 5 lethal attackers. I can probably get 2 or 3 of them through. And there's the 9 lives. Well, I'll tell you what. Now the Bonecrusher Giants, and there are 2 of them, are lethal. And that would work in this circumstance. So this game isn't over. We've got a long way to go, though. Oh, nothing to reveal for that. All right, well, let's pass the turn and see what happens here. We have lots of outs. I can't believe I misclicked through that Sigil. Misclicking through that Sigil of the Empty Throne was a little bit of a blowout in retrospect. That said, we might get bailed out. We've got a couple turns, maybe one turn as a matter of fact. Maybe 0 turns, actually. Maybe we get one more draw step at this. Actually, a lot of outs here. Because even something, I mean, even Cindervines works, I believe, because I think it deals 1 damage to him when you blow it up, or even 2 or something. Bonecrusher Giant, we've got some outs. Oh, our opponent's dragging it out. Oh my gosh, it's a back to nature! We've done it! I punted so hard through this match. Look, I'm sorry, I'm out of practice after 2 weeks in a natural disaster, not thinking about Magic, and I made a misclick, but look at it! Back to nature off the top of the deck with counterspell protection. Cast this card, win the game to the 9 lives. Woo, there we go, everybody. Temur Beatdown taking on Green-White Enchantress. We punted a little bit in Pioneer, but you know what? We had fun, and we won. Woo, all right, let's get on to the next one. That was great. All right, everybody. Time for more Temur Beatdown. We're on the play. We've got some Mana Dorks. We actually don't, with this hand, have a turn 2 Steel Leaf Champion. We can't do that with this Mountain. But we do have a good hand, no matter how you cut it. We've got mana, we've got counter magic, we've got removal, we've got beatdowns. At least once we get this other Llanowar Elves online anyway. This is a pretty nice hand. Let's see what our opponent decides to lead on. Thinking about killing our Llanowar Elves, I would assume. Alright, there's the Nux. You know what? I can and I will. I can and I will play Savage Knuckleblade on turn 2. Yes, please. That's a 4/4 with a bunch of abilities. And now our opponent's going to kill our Llanowar Elves? Oh, even better, actually. So they were debating whether to kill the Llanowar Elves or to save it for something better. And you know what? I gave them something better with that Lightning Axe. So that said, they didn't discard anything for value. They discarded a Shivan Reef. So it is technically a 2-for-1 there. I mean, they get some of it back, but my opponent not discarding any value, right? This, I don't know what it would be, Arclight Phoenix or what have you, but not discarding anything of value to the Charter Course. Opponent says in chat, apologies in advance, I have a lot of removal. Well, okay, I hear you. Sounds like fun. I've got a lot of creatures. Depends what kind of removal it is. If it's a bunch of point removal, lightning axes, lightning strikes, lightning bolts, lightning rifts, lightning... Alright, I'm out. I'm out of lightning cards. We've got a lot of value. If they have a sweeper, sure, but they don't. We're just sort of eking out value here. Get an extra 1/1 here, an extra 1/1 there. And honestly, the fact that we are mana screwed is allowing us to have plenty of gas, right? And I'm actually going to take this opportunity to play the Llanowar Elves. If I'm going to get the chance to Stubborn Denial something with just a Force Spike from my opponent, it's going to pretty much need to be now, if we get a chance. But if not, this will give us the opportunity to play a Steel Leaf Champion next turn, should we want to. And they are getting value here. They're going to try to Fiery Temper our Llanowar Elves. Well, you know what? I guess I'm going to say no. Just because I'm not going to get to play that card in a great position anytime soon anyways. And we have the Temur Charm, which amounts to basically the same thing. And oh, my poor opponent. My poor opponent could have played around the Force Spike. They did not. They were well and truly punished for that decision. I'm not going to show. I'm going to attack first here. Alright, well I think this is the last turn I can try to basically do something besides hold up Temur Charm. So we play Steel Leaf Champion. Our opponent is well and truly, I think, back against the wall right now. They're going to have to put together a very good turn. And if they don't do it on their main phase, then we have a Temur Charm up for everything after that. So they actually do have a Lightning Axe. And there is an Arclight Phoenix into the graveyard. So it begins, and now my opponent's going to strategic plan. If they can find one more in center sorcery, they're going to get a Phoenix back, and it looks like They did. All that said, oh gosh, never mind. I was going to say, all that said, one Arc-like Phoenix is not the end of the world. We can, Bonecrusher Giant it, but I'll tell you that Treasure Cruise was a bit more disastrous. I said they needed a very good turn, and they had it. I can answer that. I mean, I can take that. I can get rid of it for a turn at least. I think it's still possible to kind of drown our opponent out of resources here, right? If they, run out of removal or whatever. They run out of spells. You flood them out. That's kind of the thing you want to do against Arc-like Phoenix players. Is just try to, make them bring it back more than they really can. They have to come up with another 3 spells, and then what? They have one Arc-like Phoenix. They're gonna have to do better than that. So we even get to keep up the Temur Charm here. It's that or play the Bonecrusher Giant, but I'm not going to do that. My opponent needs to get back onto the board somehow here, and hopefully we can deny them with this Temur Charm from drawing too many cards. Right? If we can keep their spells to being relatively benign. And as a matter of fact, I think it might start by hitting this Charter Course. That way they can't dump another Phoenix into the graveyard. I could be wrong about this. I'm going to counter it. So the thing is, by countering it, we stop them from even digging for anything, right? They regardless of whether or not we strand a Phoenix in their hand instead of letting them pitch it, I think we have to hit that. We just don't want to let them draw into it. Now, unfortunately, they have yet another Treasure Cruise and the right amount of cards in the graveyard, so we're going to be in trouble no matter what. We're going to have to draw pretty well to come up with these last 10 points of damage, I think. Especially Wild Slash there. And Phoenix is back, so that one will trade with the Bonecrusher. And now our opponent has 4 cards in hand, and right on time, we find Klothys. I am going to play this, though. If there's a way back into this game, it's with Klothys. It's a 5-turn clock, if you look at it that way, right? Everything else not even withstanding, the Klothys deals 2 to them and gains 2 for us when we exile stuff. So our opponent now is not only having to defend against our attacks, they have to massively speed up their own clock to try to outrace the Klothys. Now, unfortunately for us, that's exactly what they're doing. Just completely... They were right. They did have a lot of removal. Our board has been decimated. A second Arc-like Phoenix has come back. I don't know if we're ahead in this race. Worst part is our opponent still has 3 cards in hand, so conceivably they could even bring him back again if they needed to. Although Collected Company is a pretty nice draw. Well, we've got a shot here. We get to pass the turn. I guess see what our opponent does. If they decide to come in for 6 and put us to 8, not only does that not kill us for even a turn after, but the company could allow us to kind of sneak in some extra attacks here. Our opponent's going for a big spell. Let's see what it is. I mean, Finale of Promise or something like that. Another Treasure Cruise. Okay. Treasure Cruise for days over there. But not another Phoenix. Well, we're going to be in trouble if they have an Is It Charm, I guess. Probably where things are at. If this resolves, though, we might be able to seal the game. Wow, and look at that. It did resolve, and I get double Rabblemaster out of the deal. This game is going to be close. I think we're probably in trouble, though. I think they're probably going to end up with enough removal. Especially, I think this Fiery... this just does it. Lightning Axe kills one, Fiery Temper kills the other. I guess we go back up to 10. But look how effortlessly my opponent just was able to answer our Collected Company. This is a matchup where you do miss Questing Beast, I'll tell you that much. All right, well, we can exile some more stuff with... Oh, my gosh. Does that do it? Does that get us there somehow? I don't think so. But if our opponent can't kill us, then it might. If we hit a land. And you know what? I guess if I'm lucky, if my opponent doesn't have a remove... Well, actually, this has a lot of things going for it. Look, if my opponent doesn't kill us, and granted, look, they could hit, and that would truly be sad given how close this one is. And unfortunately, that's exactly what's happening. Oh, that's so bad. We almost had it, everybody. That's 9. If they don't have lethal there, if they didn't have that wild slash, look, the Klothys would have put them to 4, and then if we hit land, they're dead. Or just by virtue of having the Bonecrusher Giant, they're dead because we get ferocious. And if they kill the Bonecrusher Giant, they would take 2 from targeting it, which would still make it lethal. But instead, our opponent had Burn to our face, plus the 3rd Arc-like Phoenix to get there. What a match, though. Or what a game, anyway. Whew. All right, Scavenging Ooze, get in here. Please get in here after that. Hornet Nest, Temur Charm? Fight an Arc-like Phoenix? Lava Coils to exile them? I'm honestly not sure what we want here. I don't think the Embercleave is that great. Going to be pretty hard to really do much with it. Gosh, what a game that was. Not really sure what to cut, to be honest with you. We'll just kind of trim down here. Don't think Rhonas is very good when our opponent's just going to remove all our creatures and strand it. I do think the Klothys is quite good. I'm probably not supposed to... I mean, the thing is, my opponent boards into sweepers. The Hornet's Nest could be pretty good. I probably don't want to mess with it, though. I guess give something like this a shot. I mean, we're a weird little mix here of reactive with some counter spells and some removal. But we also have a nice aggro plan. And I am going to keep this hand. This hand looks pretty decent. Couple dorks, a Scavenging Ooze here. A Temur Charm. We can interact with our opponent one way or another. Kratos Claw's not exactly what we want to see in our opener. But it is, I think, a reasonable card that you do want in the deck. And 1 is pretty much the perfect number because... in most circumstances, you're going to be able to make it pretty good. Your opening hand is the worst place to have it, but it's still okay. It gives us some flood protection if we can deal a little bit of damage early, which I think we'll be able to. All right, there's a Knuckleblade. I'm in. I'm going to make my opponent... Oh, I can't. I can't do it. I can't do it. As a matter of fact, I can't cast either of these Temur cards yet. Something to keep in mind. I can hopefully eat something out of their graveyard next turn, though. If they'll probably kill our Skoos here, but in theory, that's okay. I think we just had to play stuff. Oh, wow. It's a young Pyromancer. That is not what I expected to see at all. And I'll tell you what, now we have a use for the Crater's Claws. Look at this. X equals 1. Get these young Pyromancer out of here. That thing probably would have been pretty annoying for us, honestly. Now we get it. That's big in a couple ways, right? We get to eat it, take it out of their graveyard. We take their fodder for delving later, but it also makes our Scavenging Ooze a 3/3, which is out of range of at least a couple of their burn spells. I mean, look, their entire deck is removal. It's just set up to continually destroy ours, but I mean, the Izzet Charm couldn't have killed our Scavenging Ooze. Our opponent tried to be greedy and hope that we couldn't answer a young Pyromancer. And to be fair, a lot of hands we have couldn't. So instead they had to go with this, I guess, slightly more convoluted way to kill the Scavenging Ooze. It was still pretty good for them, honestly. Alright, that's a good one. This is the one that allows me to play this Knuckleblade. I think we just have to play this thing and hope that it works. I don't want to play the Scavenging Ooze until we can try to do something with it, even if that's just to eat my opponent's cards for Delve. But I think we have to play the Knuckleblade there, and we don't have a second red to give it haste anytime soon, right? We have to get the red from our one Stomping Ground and the blue from the Mana Confluence. So we just have to play it and hope that it works out here. You know, Lightning Axe is the scariest one from our opponent. They haven't showed us any Arc-like Phoenixes yet, but even if they have an answer to the Nux, we get to play Scooze with 3 mana to eat stuff, and we can it chew up some of their graveyard anyway. Wow, and so they're going to Wild Slash our Llanowar Elf. Okay, that's got to be a good sign for us. Rabblemaster or hold up Temur Charm? I think the answer is hold up Temur Charm, to be honest with you. I'm going to swing for 5. It's a 3-turn clock, and if my opponent goes for a Treasure Cruise, I get to counter it. That's exactly what they're doing. I think this is okay. They can pay for this, and I think that's all right. Or, you know what? What if instead of all that, I let them have it, and then I try to counter whatever they did next to actually keep my creatures alive? Is that better? I think that's worse, actually. I'm just going to counter this thing. If they want to spend their turn to draw 3, I mean, this is just a mana leak, right? They can pay the 3 and draw their 3, but they're going to take a bunch of damage. 7, as a matter of fact. And pump this thing. Now, they might have removal here. As a matter of fact, they do. That's why we got a Rabblemaster. Or a company. This has been an extraordinarily interesting match because the first game, and now this one as well, it's become how much small advantage can we eke out from our creatures before our opponent's card advantage engine takes over. And look, it's the same way in this one. It's how we're getting there with these 1/1s that are just kind of left over small bits at a time, 1 damage, 2 damage. But now my opponent might be turning the corner. Is it Charm gets rid of my Rabblemaster, they start making tokens. So things are starting, that's the corner turn for us. That's where things start to get scary. Drawing this Stomp here to get the Bonecrusher Giant down, though, I have to say that's a big one. I'm confused. What was that token? It said it was equal to... It should have just been a 1/1. Okay, whatever. I think Magic Online was being a little weird there. Okay, well, we answered the Young Pyromancer, and honestly, that's pretty important, I think, it's safe to say, because that would have taken over the game in extremely short order. So, and look, obviously, as you can tell, this one is far, far, far from over, but we're running our opponent lower on resources. We avoid the treasure cruises and the dig through times, we might be all right. My opponent has to take 3 to kill the, or take 2 to kill this and go to 3, which fair enough, they'll do. They're lightning bolt away. I think we're in a good spot though, because look, they're at 1 card in hand. Treasure Cruise, dig through time, sure, we're in trouble. But otherwise, we've got a Lava Coil if they come up with a Phoenix. We've got a Company if we find a land. And if we don't, we get a Scooze and we at least get to eat something out of their graveyard. So most of our draws seem pretty good at this point in the game, and our opponent is very low. All right, is it Charm? Draw, discard 2. That's pretty good for him, but I do think it's... Oh, no. All right, well, I was going to say it's manageable for us. But now they get to opt. Oh, they didn't get there. All right. That's huge. That's a huge development, honestly. Yeah, and I'm just going to eat the thing. We have no other play, so I'm going to eat their Phoenix while we can. Obviously, we do have the Lava Coil answer, but let's do it. Our opponent has 1 card in hand. They have to answer our Scavenging Ooze or the game's over. They went bottom with their last opt. They did not draw into an instant or sorcery they could cast because they weren't able to get the Phoenix back. And then their last draw is a Treasure Cruise. Here we go. We're not done yet. An Arc-like Phoenix into the graveyard. Wow, the Spike Field Hazard to our face. Now the Arc-like Phoenix gets to swing. At least, here's the thing though. I still feel alright. They're once again down to 1 card in hand. I actually get to have a pretty decent turn here in that I get to Lava Coil the Arc-like Phoenix away forever and play Llanowar Elves that represents our 4th mana to cast this Collected Company. So, still in the game here somehow. And our opponent's going to pass. Alright, well, I think we've got a shot. That's a 4th land. That even means we get to swing with the Llanowar Elves and keep a little bit of pressure on. Bring it here. All right, everybody. This is real time happening. Yeah, bring it over here and show.
No, it's mine.
Yeah, okay, come show me.
On your computer. We're gonna see it on the computer.
Oh.
Come over here.
Let's see it on the computer.
Come say hi.
Hi.
All right. I'm sorry. This is real life recording here. My son's saying hi with his Grinch balloon. Okay, buddy. You want to go over there?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Come on, dinner.
Okay. All right. Back to Magic.
Careful, yep.
Wild Slash takes down our Llanowar Elves. Wave bye to my wife and son there. See you later. Okay, this looks good for us. Our opponent's at 2. Let's resolve this Collected Company. And we got 2 creatures. This should do it. Woo! This has been an extremely fun match so far. And we're on to game 3. We've got a shot. That was something. That was an interesting one. I think I want the Rabblemaster back in here. I don't know. I don't know what to cut here. I'm going to actually cut a Knuckleblade, especially on the draw. I think they're maybe a little too dirtly. They're the slowest to impact the board sometimes, right? At least when you're not able to give it haste. Well, let's see what we can make of this one. Yeah, it's a keep. It's a pretty reasonable hand, I think. We've got removal if our opponent has a Pyromancer or anything like that. Now we have a Collected Company to go with it. Our opponent's probably going to kill our Mana Dork because you always kill the Mana Dork. But in this case, I'd love for them to kill our Mana Dork. We have 2 backup ones and plenty of things to spend our mana on after that. From their perspective, though, it actually would make sense if you hold it up and you just kill our Rabblemaster on turn 2. Otherwise, you sort of delay the Rabblemaster, but you don't stop it. And I think our deck proved in that last one, we can go long with them, at least under some circumstances. They had 2 treasure cruises resolve in that game, and we were able to still, I'm not going to say easily or decisively, but we always felt like we were in control of that one, and we're able to pull it out. So I think that's a good sign. I think that's a good sign. Now our opponent's going to, I guess, go into the tank here, trying to figure out if they want to deal with our Mystic or what. Yeah, I was a little unsure about those Lava Coils because it's so reactive against Arc-like Phoenix sometimes. But in that last match, it actually looked really good. And here you go. Our opponent once again rolling those dice on the turn 2 Pyromancer. And unfortunately for them, once again, I'm going to punish them. In this case, maybe even worse because I get to kill it. More than that, I get to add to my own board. I get to be mana efficient, use all 3, still advance my board state here. And they did nothing. You know, they got time walked on turn 2, and we're up 1 Elvish Mystic. now we're down several Elvish Mystics. Speaking of being mana efficient, Lightning Axe discarding Fiery Temper, madnessing the Fiery Temper to kill 2 Mana Dorks, also pretty efficient. This is where I want to hit a land. An untapped land and slam that Rabblemaster. Unfortunately, not quite. I think we hit land there. This game looks very good for us. We don't, and I gotta say, it looks a little more iffy. Because our opponent gets a hard cast of Fiery Temper. Give us a land and we're in this one. Alright. Alright, that's one way to go down. I mean, we'll see if our opponent's able to punish us here, but I have no doubt that they would be able to, and there's an Arc-like Phoenix Seal. 4 mana, 3/2 flying beatdown plan. Land? Wow. Wow, that's something. 3 mana dorks go down, and we still have nothing but the 2 lands we had in our opener. What an unlucky game. At this point, you'll notice that in those first games, what always mattered is us being on the beatdown and us being ahead and us kind of setting the tone. And that's not happening now. We've completely lost the ability to dictate the action, and it's land or bust right here, I think. Another mana dork just to tease us. Opponent's got removal. What's sad is how absolutely winnable this game was with just 1 land. That's what's really unfortunate in this one. Is we hit that 3rd land, our entire hand is unlocked. Doesn't even matter what that 3rd land is. It's 1 to 2 Rabblemasters hitting the field with Temur Charm. It's just an unlosable game, I think, if we find a 3rd land in those draw steps. But hey, unfortunately, that is how it goes. This was a great match regardless. I mean, we'll go for it, but we are, unfortunately, at the point now where our opponent is probably just going to be able to go to our face and kill us. I'd have to do something like resolve a Rabblemaster on tap with it, use it to fight the Phoenix. Second Phoenix will just do us in. Well, it was a great match. We were not able to get there. Always fun when we play against this opponent, though. Fellow Merfolk enthusiasts over there. We always have great matches whenever we run into each other on Magic Online. Well, this one didn't work out, but it was a great match all around, everybody. Let's see if we can pick up a win in our last one. All right, well, this is a little bit of a questionable hand, but I'm going to try it. I'm just going to try to play a turn 2 5/5 and hope that it works and we get to attack with it. So we'll see. We'll see. Sorry about the interruption last match. I do like to think that something that hopefully makes my content that I think helps it is that I try to be really open and personal about what's going on with me and what's going on with my life. I had a comment that meant a lot to me really early on in my writing career in Magic, where somebody said, I don't really care about any of the cards you wrote. I can't really relate to some of this stuff, but you made me care about your story, so I want to see you succeed. And that really meant a lot to me. That's something I've tried to take forward. So, you know, I could just stop the recording and pick back up where I left off, but it's a lot more fun to have my son say hi and give a cameo. He loves sorting Magic cards with me. He's not old enough to play yet, but he loves to just be a part of, you know, helping me out however he can when we're sorting through stuff. It's very, very sweet. I'm going to play Lovestruck Beast. Drawing lane was not where we wanted to be there. But at least as of yet, we haven't missed a beat. We've got a turn 2 5/5. We can be swinging for 6 from here on out. All it takes is maybe 1 or 2 more good cards off the top of our deck, and this looks like a pretty reasonable curve, so we'll see here. And just like that, as a matter of fact, so I think I actually have to do it this way so that I can attack with this, but that's okay. Look at this curve. Turn 3, swing for 9. Now, granted, our opponent's probably going to kill the Llanowar Elves, and the Lovestruck Beast won't be able to get in there, but the Savage Knuckleblade will. And the fact that... Oh, wow. Okay, just kidding. Just kidding. That's not how I expected that to go at all. I expected them to have a Fatal Push or whatever for the Elf and let the Savage Knuckleblade resolve an attack. Instead, it's a counterspell, a quench for the Knuckleblade, and it letting themselves get hit. That's actually probably better for them, frankly, if they do have the removal. And now we are flooding out. I mean, the hand was questionable in the first place, and it got worse, though. I mean, look, we've drawn, I think, 3 out of 4. 2 of our 3 draws have been land. We get a little more lucky on our draws, and everything looks a little better here. As it stands, though, missing a play here and passing the turn back is not exactly where we want to be against what I can only assume is some kind of Uro pile. What was that? Oh, it's a Gerudo deck. Okay, they put Gerudo into their hand. Wow. Well, I do feel confident in saying that no matter what hand we kept, if we drew like this, we were probably going to lose. So this is a rough one. I won't lie. That is the way it goes sometimes. Look, the hand had a high ceiling. I mean, look what we had. In a slightly, you know, in a different scenario, we get a swing for 9 there. We have a hasty Knuckleblade alongside a Lovestruck Beast. That was incredible, right? Unfortunately, our opponent had the right cards they needed to interact, and all of a sudden we're in a much worse spot because of it. And that is the way it goes sometimes. That said, we'll go ahead and play out the cards we can. And pass the turn back here. Gerudo gets to come in, and we'll see what it does. I mean, each player mills 4. You put a creature with an even CMC into play. Oh my gosh, what is this? It's an Altered Ego. So it's going to be a copy of our Lovestruck Beast, except with a +1 counter, so it's a 6/6. Well, that worked out pretty well. Jeez, okay. Well, we're getting the Mana Flood out of the way early here. We Mana Screw in that last match, and Mana Flood here to start this one off. That's magic. At the very least, we'll get a shot at a sideboard game. We get to see what our opponent's doing here. We'll see if it's straight combo Gerudo or something else. Likely pure combo, given what we saw the Altered Ego there. And the Spark Double. Yep. All right. Full-on Gerudo combo. That said, the second one missed. So they only have, you know, a 6/6, a 6/6, and a 7/7. That's all. No big deal. I can't beat that. Let's go to game 2. All right. Well, we know what we're up against there. Countering it with a Temur Charm seems pretty solid. Unfortunately, that's just kind of where we're at, right? We'll get the Scavenging Oozes in here. Which are frankly just okay, I think. Alright, we'll give something like this a shot. I mean, look, we want to be the beatdown deck. And we have a very beatdown possible draw. You know, I don't know, maybe we don't want the Stubborn Denial, actually. Maybe like another Knuckleblade would be better. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know exactly what to expect from our opponent. I'm not sure what a Gerudo deck looks like after that first wave of Gerudo decks. Especially now that we have double face cards, you know, modal double face lands. I'm sure that sort of changes what that deck can do. This, though, this is a keeper. This is a much better hand than our last one. Even as I guess that's the wrong lane to play, though. I'm not used to playing with game trails. You want to play the game trail first. Fortunately, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'll make the same mistake, I guess. But we're at least able to play out our Rabblemaster. Next turn we can play a Temur... Or I guess we can't play a Temur Charm. I guess we can't actually cast either of these cards in our hand, can we? All right, let's see if they have an answer to the Rabblemaster here. They don't. So, Rabblemaster is going to do what it does, which is make a really aggressive turn 2 play. And here we go. I can play out a 5/5 on top of all that. So, let's swing with the team. And it is a big attack. I mean, it's coming in for 6. Our opponent's able to block some, but it puts him down to 14. And we have the 5/5 added to that. It's a lot of damage. As a matter of fact, I think with the Temur Charm, if we were to hit blue source here and I faltered my opponent from blocking, it could be lethal. It would be 5 plus 5. That's 10 plus 13. It's, in fact, exactly lethal. Depending on what they copy here. They copy a Rabblemaster. So a blue source should mean that we win the game. I don't know about copying Rabblemaster there. But let's see if we hit a land. Or specifically, I guess there's not many untapped islands. Breeding pool or something. Yeah, it doesn't quite do it. But it does allow me to cast a Collected Company after this, so I'm going to attack with everything. Swing for 14 damage. Force our opponent to make a trade. They still take a ton. They're down to 5. They can't cast Garuda here, or Gyruda, or Jaruda, or whatever the heck it is. They only have up to 5 mana, which means I have 4 tokens, 4 1/1s that can come through, even if they block the 5/5. But I'm also going to have whatever this Collected Company gives me. So I'm cautiously optimistic we'll be able to win here. Especially since this clone is not... I mean, this does keep them alive, but as long as we don't completely whiff on the company, I think that we win. Alright, in fact, we did not whiff. We hit some good cards, so there you go. And we hit the Temur Charm anyway, so... Alright, they block here and here, and they still take 5, so I'm just going to swing. I'm not going to show them the Temur Charm, since it doesn't matter. I say it doesn't matter. Unless the 1 mana they get from this Sylvan Caryatid is going to be used to fog, then it would matter. I can counterspell the fog. Alright. On to game 3. Don't really know that I want to change too much. Kind of Stubborn Denial. Not really sure what we're hitting with it. It only hits non-creatures, and they seem to be, a Jaruda combo deck, so I don't know how many of those they have. I'm sure there's some in removal or whatever else, but let's kind of pare back on that a bit and try to go aggressive here. We want something like last game. Turn 2, Goblin Rabblemaster. Start swinging. That's the plan. Yeah, this doesn't get it done. This hand's close. I say that. It's not even that good, honestly. This one's a little better. Now, I have to be honest, this hand is not amazing by any means at all. Is this hand not amazing? But it does do what we need to do, which is play a big threat on turn 2. And that's what the match comes down to, I think. And this is one that's a little harder to kill, in theory. The Steel Leaf Champion. 4 lands plus a mana dork. Not where we want to be, but it's a mold of 6. You got to take what you can get, and at least this hand has a plan. And we're able to follow up on that if we draw, anything good. However, we haven't yet. It's a Botanical Sanctum there. Not what we wanted to see. But sometimes Steel Leaf Champion just goes the distance, frankly. It can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or left. It's got 4 toughness. That means a lot of the typical removal doesn't get it. It's very, very good. Now, our opponent's probably representing a Quench, but frankly, I don't think I can play around it. I have to play the champion this turn. If they have the counterspell, they have the counterspell, which they do. But next turn we can play the Scavenging Ooze with enough mana to play around a second Quench, and then we can eat the Steel Leaf Champion and make it a 3/3. This is kind of where we're at. I mean, we're at the mercy of the top of our deck. If our next 2 draws are good cards, say Temur Knuckleblade, Temur Nux, Savage Knuckleblade. Sorry, I was all mixed up there. Savage Knuckleblade or Collected Company. This game's completely fine. We're super in it. We hit a land or 2, we're just gonna lose. That's somewhere in the middle. I suppose it is what it is. So let's play this thing out. Play Scavenging Ooze. Alright, well, Scoo's resolved. Let's attack. And I'm just going to pass the turn here. I want to use the Scavenging Ooze to eat the Steel Leaf Champion. If my opponent were to have a sweeper, I don't want to run out the Mystic. We're not ramping to anything. And I don't know that 1/1 beatdown is how we're really going to get there right now. I do know that the Quench on the Steel Leaf Champion, coupled with the Mold of 6, and now our opponent seemingly getting whatever they want with this growth spiral shenanigans, I'm feeling pretty far behind. We have some great cards to catch up. Savage Knuckleblade can get haste. We've got some big creatures. Collected Company is Collected Company. But I do feel pretty far behind as our opponent with 5 lands in hand now, making their, or I'm sorry, 5 cards in hand. Hope it's 5 lands, making their 5th land drop and having access to basically anything they could have right now. Yep, it's to put Gerudo in their hand. That might actually be one of the more beatable things, frankly. I can eat the Seal Leaf Champion. I don't think I get a chance. The reason this doesn't work the way we want it to, I don't think I actually get a chance to respond to the Gerudo when it comes into play. The trigger and the trigger to mill and the trigger that puts the creature into play, I believe, are all part of the same trigger. So that's very, very bad for us. As is the fact, obviously, that we drew land there. But it means that this Scavenging Ooze isn't the answer we want it to be. The Scavenging Ooze can't, I think, get it back, because I don't know that it targets. That's my recollection of Gerudo. I played it once, right when it first came out. Let's go read it, and we're going to figure out when they cast it, right? Yep, each player mills, put a creature card into play. It does not say put a target creature card into play. That means that it doesn't use the stack in that sense, which is very different. Now, interesting that our opponent didn't slam it there. So we're just going to flood out entirely, but I guess we'll attack for 5. And they've got an Abrupt Decay, so let's go ahead and, I guess I'll eat the Growth Spiral. I don't think it matters much here. I'm going to eat one thing and then keep mana open. Keep Temur Charm mana open, as a matter of fact, to, we'll bluff them a little bit. Maybe they hold back on a Gerudo like they did last turn, but the game isn't over when they play it. They can whiff. 4 cards from each player is a super reasonable number for both players to whiff on, specifically creatures with even CMC. At that point, they have, just a 6/6, but at least in theory, that's something we can beat. But we're going to find out, because here it comes. All right, there's an Altered Ego. Let's see what the next one hits. Wow, okay, that one only hit a Sylvan Caryatid. And this copied the original Gerudo. So, like I said, just one 6/6. Oh my gosh, I think we're on like 5 lands in a row, though. Oh, 5 or 6 mana sources in a row, certainly, at least. Wow. Well, you know what? Look, we don't play Mighty Modern Putty Pioneer to win. It's fun to win, but we play to show you what decks can do, and you've seen what our deck can do. Now you can see what this Gerudo deck can do as they get to restart the chain here. We were never going to win a game like this flooding out, but at least our opponent got to have some fun. They get a Spark Double the Gerudo. If we'd had removal for this, which, to be fair, there's not a lot of removal in our deck for a 6/6, but we could have at least prevented this part of all this combo. But I'm glad they at least get to have their fun. Oh, look at that. They hit the Thassa to get a Blanket and start it over. Good for them. GG's. All right, well, let's look at this deck, because we actually, we didn't win the matches, but we were competitive in every one. We lost to Mana Flood, essentially. Mana Flood and Mana Screw in close matches in games 3. But looking at the deck here, I honestly don't know if I would change much at all. I really did like it pretty much as it is. I think these are all good cards. I think there's a lot of threat diversity at the 3-drop spot here. Bonecrusher Giant does something different than Rabblemaster, does something different than Lovestruck Beast, does something different than Savage Knuckleblade, right? But they're all good and powerful. And then the fact you just kind of get a free roll of Collected Company with a bunch of 3-drops that are very strong is nice. I think this deck has some great power. Now, what it doesn't have is a way to sort of smooth out its draws. And, outside of, I guess, maybe the Klothys or, the Collected Company, there's no card advantage in the deck. That you don't already get from just sort of the power of your cards in themselves. So, leaving behind tokens or getting 2 creatures with a company, that sort of thing. But I love having access to the Stubborn Denials in the main deck. I love having company. I really think this is a well-positioned deck. It's got a good mix of answers and threats. Maybe just draw a better mix of your mana than we did today. But everybody, thank you so much for watching Punting Pioneer. Look, it's been really great to be back after this long break here. As always, with cool stuff. There's Mining Modern out on Tuesday, Punting Pioneer out today, and we will be back to regular content from here on out. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'll see you next week.